All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Tip Touch. I think this is going to be number 72? I believe it's 72. And what you'll immediately notice right away is that my co-host is not here. My partner in crime, my compadre, he is out, and it was finally his turn to take on the Rona. Right, this thing it's like it's got legs. It's all slimy. Tries to catch as many people as it can. So anyway, so he's out, and I said, you know what? How about I go ahead and just handle this? He's done it before for me when I've had to go out. He's went ahead and ran the ship, whether it was getting a guest. I don't know. We've talked about doing some things solo. Anyway, so this is what happens. This is life. And I'm sure he has a lot that he wants to talk about when he comes back. But in the meantime, without further ado, let's get going. Let's get this episode rocking. So obviously, as the crypto guy, I'm going to spend about an hour talking about crypto. Probably about an hour. And the three main things I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about the fact that El Salvador is the first nation in the world to legalize, to make Bitcoin a legal tender, an actual legal tender. And we'll talk about some of the pros, some of the cons, some of the risks, being the first one to do it, the first country to do it. But I think you'll see that in the end, I applaud their decision. I think that they are the first of many, if not the rest of the world or most of the world. I think we'll have to, shake Kim Jong-un's hands a little bit, to get him on board. He'll never get on board. But most of the world. And then the other thing I want to talk about is what was my article? I have to think real quick. Oh yeah, with banks now recognizing that we've talked about it on the podcast before, that banks they know that crypto is coming, and on one of my previous podcasts, I just repeated what my prediction was, the bank's prediction, that the dollar would blow up in the next 5 to 10 years, the U.S. dollar. Okay, and then the third thing I want to talk about is the currency, the main currency exchange, cryptocurrency exchange in the United States that we have is Coinbase, and I wanted to share some things a little bit about Coinbase that I think I sort of disagree with them. I don't like the way that they are doing things as opposed to the way that Binance does things. Binance is my favorite of all exchanges, and but Coinbase is sort of doing some things to stifle the competition, so we'll talk a little bit about that. So, with our first story, we will go ahead and we will get that going up on the screen here. Sorry if I'm rusty, it's because I never do this. Okay, El Salvador becomes first nation to make Bitcoin legal tender. All right. So, and this article was actually from June, and June 9th. So it's an old article, but one thing we have not talked about is some of the pros and cons, right? So in El Salvador, they use the U.S. dollar. It says the U.S. dollar will continue to be El Salvador's main currency, and no one will be forced to pay in Bitcoin, according to the legislation approved late Tuesday. Every restaurant, every barber shop, every bank, everything can be paid in U.S. dollars or Bitcoin, and nobody can refuse payment. So that's huge. That is huge. Okay, and I think that the crazy thing about that, so we let's talk about some of the pros and the cons about that. So some of the pros is that they are accepting a decentralized currency as their legal tender. Decentralized. Decentralization is where you can't have a central entity manipulating the currency, right? So like so excuse me. So many of our countries when they run into dire straits, they print themselves out of a crisis, or they attempt to, right? Italy has done that in the past. The United States is currently doing that, and we have in Venezuela, they have done it. That's where you see hyperinflation. Zimbabwe is a very famous case for doing that. They did that, and so what happens is they destroy their currency, and so being that that the Federal Reserve is in the process of destroying the U.S. currency, I want to build the case for crypto, and and I want to do it in a way that I don't want people who are skeptical of cryptocurrency. I don't want to attack anyone. I don't want people, if your eyes aren't open to this, I don't want you to feel like I'm looking at you in a way that I think you are not smart, or just don't get it, whatever. Because when I was brand new to crypto, my whole thing was, how can this invisible thing be worth anything? Like, the one thing that we had going for us with the dollar until 1971, the Bretton Woods Agreement, was that that the U.S. dollar would be tied to the value of gold, right? And then in 1971, they decided, that was the Bretton Woods Agreement, that they would tie it to oil, and so then it was then thereafter labeled the petrodollar, until that became a non-thing, and then now literally the U.S. dollar is not based on anything, just the trust of the U.S. government. Well, I think that we're in a situation now where a lot of people, not just people, but governments as well, are starting to call America out on its bluff. They're starting to question, why is the U.S. dollar really best suited to be the world reserve currency, and if not, then what is? So you have China hot on our heels, trying to become the world's reserve currency with the yuan, and if the people who are making this decision have any brain whatsoever, they can look at China's track record and just know that it's full of dishonesty, and they will destabilize their currency. They will do anything they can to manipulate the yuan to suit their interests. No different than the US dollar, by the way. No different than the US dollar. The US dollar is doing the same thing. And so when I talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, that most cryptos are created in a decentralized manner that a government can't do this. Like, when we are in a crisis, you can't just change the value of Bitcoin, or by printing more and giving. You have to literally handle a crisis the way a crisis is supposed to be handled. So, for instance, if it comes, like, we are running out of money for schooling, we will have to look at one of the pork spending. Do we need to spend on this much, or do we need to raise taxes? But it forces the situation, instead of kicking the can down the road, where we have known for decades that my generation would not see Social Security, and instead they just kick the can down the road. Well, we'll deal with it when we get there. Meanwhile, you get people like me who have been paying into Social Security ever since I started working at age 15, and I've paid thousands and thousands of dollars into this Ponzi scheme, into this Ponzi that I will never see. I will never get that back. And to think that doesn't leave a sour taste in my mouth, that You'd be stupid to think that, right? So I have, from an early age, knew that the U.S. dollar was never going to work for me. So I've always, for well over a decade, known that. And now I've seen crypto, but I never believed it. I was very, very skeptical of it up until last fall of 2020, when um, when one of my buddies from work tried to sit down with me, tried to talk me into opening a Coinbase account, and then I looked at it and really kind of didn't. And then January came, January of 2021, right right before the pandemic started. And maybe I'm a year off. Maybe it was fall of 2019 that I was in. I think it was fall of 2019, because it was right before the pandemic that I got into. So yeah, I'm a year off on that. But anyway, and then I got into it, and it just, my whole world changed. My whole world changed. And so anyway, so let's go to the next article. So the banks have known that the U.S. dollar is going to go away, right? They've had uh, they've had their meetings. They've talked about it. They know it, and so now we have our first bank. This is September 1st. This came out on September 1st of this year. It says, with Coinbase and SAP, Vast Bank offers Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and Litecoin, and other ones I'm sure as well. Yeah, so you got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Filecoin, Litecoin, Orchid, Algorand, Bitcoin Cash, and you can purchase them directly. And what makes it different is right there, from a FDIC insured checking account if you are a customer of Vast Bank. That's amazing. That's the first time we've seen an FDIC insured bank take on that. Now, I've been using Cash App. If I want, Bitcoin that today, right now, within minutes, I will go through Cash App. But there's nothing FDIC insured about them, I don't think. As far as I know, I don't, like, if something were to not go through, I don't know what the protections are. All I do the Cash App for is if I need to buy the Bitcoin and send it to a decentralized exchange. We'll go into all that another time, but I use the Cash App because I can get it that day. If I try to buy it on Coinbase, it takes 5 to 7 days before I can do anything, and in all of that time, Coinbase is literally making money off of all your coins. Okay, so the fact is, and so what I'm trying to do here is build the case for crypto, as to let you guys know, if the banks are going in this direction and the government is going in the direction where they're basically imploding the US dollar by printing off all the printers, adding a debt, a national debt that we will never pay. I mean, we will never pay that debt. And when governments get in that position, they know the time's up. They know that the currency is about to implode. And the US dollar will go the way of Venezuela and Zimbabwe. And there will be a day where you will see behind me a picture, a frame. I will frame all of what we used to call fiat currency. I'll have $100 bill there, a $50 bill, a $20 bill, a $10 bill, right? And it will be worth nothing, but it will be a historic relic, basically, just like with the Zimbabwe money and all that. And so what I'm saying, though, is you look at, like, my portfolio this year. I am up. I got to make sure that there's no reflection on my glasses. I don't want to give any crazy information away. But I'm up, and this is, now it has a dip, and I've been doing some other investing, so I've actually dropped a little bit on my total percentage. Um, but my portfolio for the year, I'm up. My total portfolio, I'm up 80%. Right. My Cardano investment, I'm up 117%. Okay. So that's where it's at. 117%. And that's on a very safe one. Bitcoin, you're seeing the same things. You have so many cryptos out there. What I'm doing, I want to keep things simple for the beginning people. I want to talk about an opportunity that where if you jump in right now, there are so many opportunities for you to literally become the bank. Now, with what Vast Bank is doing, right? We'll go back to Vast Bank here. What Vast Bank is doing, they are trying desperately to make sure that the banks can stay the middleman. They are trying to. That's basically the classic case of adapt or die, and Vast Bank is trying to adapt. I've seen other banks where, like, I think it's J.P. Morgan, where they offer a 401k plan that provides Bitcoin, which is brilliant. I mean, you should, like, people who are set to retire and they want Bitcoin in there, they should be able to have that, because Bitcoin is just growing too much. I mean, it's right now, it's as of recording, it's 51,000, and we're sort of at a resistance level right now. But when it shoots up, it's going to go. People are saying it could hit $100,000 by the end of the year. 100,000. That means if you put 1,000 in right now and just let it sit, by the end of the year, you could have $2,000. Okay, that's amazing. That's no stocks are going to do that for you. No government program is going to do that for you. The government, their solution to all this stuff is UBI, stimulus checks. Those are anytime you rely on the government, and I really don't like the fact that we have businesses, like corporate businesses, that are making hand over fist in cash revenue, and yet they still rely on the government. That should be a crime. That should be illegal, and that's the problem that we have with lobbyists in this country, where they reward all of these people that don't deserve to be rewarded, and then they strangle the middle class, and then we subsidize the poor class. It's an atrocity, really. It's a financial atrocity. But I think those days are ending. This is a very unsustainable thing, and from what I'm hearing that America is nothing compared to what they're doing in the UK. I hear that in UK there are so many people getting government checks. They're getting paid more in government checks than they are to actually go out and work. And employers are trying to talk to the government and say, will you please stop giving these people free money? And if you don't think that you're going into a trap, if you're one of those people that is receiving free government money, that is a trap. And if you don't see that, there is no saving you. There is no saving you. But if you are one of those people who's getting government money and you're not investing it, at the very least I can recommend. And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor. All of this stuff is just an opinion. It's just my opinion. I'm just a guy that is just talking about his own experiences, whatever. Okay, with all that said, at the very least, what you can do if you are receiving government payments, but this also goes for the middle class. This also goes for the people, because guess what? The people that are rich are already doing this. They're already doing this. This message is for the middle class and for the poor people who are receiving government subsidies. Take a percentage of your check and put it in Bitcoin. And I say Bitcoin because that's just the main thing. That's the one that's not going to lose money. So if we have a huge market drop, if Bitcoin drops 20%, everything else drops more than 20%, or most other coins drop more than 20%. So Bitcoin is your safest one. So at least do that. At least get yourself in the game. This is something you want to be in early. And one thing I always tell people about crypto, about being in crypto and being in the right cryptos too, that also matters, is if you're in the right crypto at early in the game, and this rocket, right? We talk about rockets a lot, right? Moon boys, we call them moon boys, where these people, I just want to have my house paid off and be able to relocate to a new country if we have the money to do that. If I have the means to be able to live off my own interest, my family and I, we've talked about it, we would love to just live off interest and relocate. Just America, there's too many rules, there's too many lies. Our politicians are corrupt beyond the pale, and it's crazy. I never thought that I would see America become a third world nation, and we can have as the most money in the world, but when you start acting like this, like what they're doing right now, that's a third world nation, and America is definitely heading toward that direction. And I'm not even saying that a third world nation is bad. And by the way, that's an antiquated term. I'm just using it because that's a common term that we all use. The new term is developing nation, yada yada yada. I'm not PC at all. I'm just not. Won't be, and I won't be forced to be, but I will. For the people that are confused about the terms, I will just let you know what the meaning. Right, the meaning is what matters. The verbiage does not. So. The third world nations, there's nothing wrong with living in a third world nation if you have the means to provide. If you are someone who has the means to provide an income for yourself and live a good life, you can live any world. Living in a country such as the Philippines would be amazing. We would love to live in the Philippines. And you can call it a third world nation all you want. That's fine. It's beautiful there. The people are amazing. The culture is so awesome. There's a lot of poverty there, and there's a lot of corruption there as well. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I'm not gonna, say that just because I'm bashing America means I have to hold that government higher. I don't have to do that. I still want to tell the truth. But I'm living on my own terms, and that's the beauty of it. And I just happen to love those different cultures. Okay, so let's go back to we're talking about El Salvador. They were the first nation in the world to accept Bitcoin as its legal tender. So what happens when you're the first one, when you're the first early adopter of something new? Now, Bitcoin's been around since 2008? I think it's been around since 2008. But what happens when you're an early adopter? What have we seen? If you look at any Bitcoin chart early, and maybe I should pull a chart up. I'll pull a chart up here. We'll go to CoinGecko, and I want to look at Bitcoin, BTC. All right, and then we'll look at, I should have went to CoinMarketCap because that's the one I'm most familiar with, but let's just go right here. Okay, so now I've got that. Let's go share the screen again. Share, boom. Okay, we're looking at Bitcoin. This is from when they started, right? So this will take us back to, I guess, 2013. Okay, so I thought it was 2008, but it's 2013. And the price is $1.18. I don't know if this really, yeah, okay, this is when I guess it hit the exchange, right? But anyway, so, people who invested, imagine, okay, here it is, December 12th of 2017. Bitcoin is now a staggering $16,525, right? But what happens? What happens? What happens? Boom. They hit a big dip in March of 2018. Went all the way down. See where it was up there? 19,000, right? 20,000, all the way down to 7,000, all the way down even further to, look at that, December of 2018, down to 3,500. So what do you do? What do you do when, look at how high it got there. April of 2021, it went as high as, I think, 65. Where can I find that bad boy? 60, 61. That all you're going to give me? Let's go 1 year. We'll zoom into that one. So April 58, 56, 50. I know you were over. Okay, 63. Is that the highest we have? Let's see. It doesn't really tell me anything there. Anyway, so it looks like 63 is the highest. 63.5 is the highest in April, right? And then all of a sudden, bad news came out. Elon Musk is on Saturday Night Live. It goes all the way down to 37. People are freaking out, right? Well, guess what? It went lower. Went all the way down to 29,000. Right? You just halved yourself from April. From your April high, you just halved yourself if you invested. If you bought it that time and stayed invested in it, didn't spend it, that was your investment. Boom, you just halved yourself, right? And you're just now coming back. We're at 51 now, right? Yeah, 51. So what do you do when you're El Salvador and you're in Bitcoin and you dropped it? Well, they were brilliant. They said, well, we'll keep the dollar, right? And that's a really good plan. I love it because, the dollar is stable. And I think that there's something we haven't talked about, and maybe we won't have enough time today to talk about, but stable coins, where they have like Tether or the USDC, where they have these stable coins that are paired with the dollar, but it's still a cryptocurrency that can easily be traded in and out of Bitcoin all day long. But that's what El Salvador did to sort of prepare for any type of drop in the Bitcoin, in the cryptocurrency market. And if as you just saw in the chart, right? I'll share it again. Look at the chart. It is certain that cryptocurrency right now in its early days is very volatile. It's very volatile, right? One day you're at 38K, then you're all the way down to 33, all right, and you're all the way up to 49. So it's volatile. It's volatile, and that's just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most stable beside your coins. Let's look at Ethereum. You want to look at Ethereum? We'll go in. Let's look at Ethereum. ETH. Let's look at Ethereum. Now Ethereum is more, it's one of the top ones, right? They're pretty stable, but look at them. So, we'll look at the year chart. But I mean, look at that. They started off, last year they were at $352, right? Oh, yay, times are looking good, right? Then all of a sudden, May 11th, we were all the way up to $4,100. I remember that day. And then I remember the drop where all of a sudden, right, May 11th, and then all of a sudden on May 23rd, it halved overnight, almost overnight. I mean, just a few days. It had some, we don't want to go. Oh, we're taking another steep slide. Oh, we're taking another steep slide. All right, so we're getting back up there right now. We are sitting at 3,900. Not bad. But what if on one of those days it took a steep slide and you're like, oh man, I just planned on going grocery shopping, but I have now half of the value. That's where the stable coins are going to save us. Now, right now, there is no stable coin. They do want, they're transitioning. They're the early adopter. El Salvador is the early adopter of Bitcoin, so they're hedging their bets right now, and they're sticking with the dollar, the US dollar, because right now that is the safest, that is the most secure. But we are seeing banks, world governments, and people all in unison starting to inch ourselves further and further and further away from the US dollar and fiat in general. Fiat, what's fiat? Fiat's just any government currency, paper currency, whatever. And so even when these governments want to talk about going to digital currency, I think they will, but it's digital currency. Like, let's just talk about China. What China aims to do with with digital currency, they have it tied in with a social credit score where they can tell you, just let's not forget, digital currency is still centralized currency. It means where a government has the authority to say what you can and can't do with your money, especially if it's digital and we're living in a digital world. So, oh, Brett's been a naughty boy. He said the wrong things against the Chinese government or against the American government for that matter, right? And say we have people in power that don't want you to say the wrong things against your government or to talk about what they call shot hesitant. They call it a vaccine. I don't think we can call it a vaccine because it doesn't fit the true definition of a vaccine. A vaccine is saying, hey, if I take this, I can't get it. We are not seeing that, so I won't call it a vaccine. And I'm what the people who oppose my beliefs call vaccine hesitant. So what if you have a government who then decides, okay, well, we know that Brett did not get the COVID shot. We are going to now disable his debit card to where he cannot spend it. So they'll basically starve me to death because they're going to make it to where, now this is all hypothetical. But in China right now, they have a social credit score system that does that very thing. And they are testing their digital yuan right now, and they're trying to implement it to where that hypothetical idea that I just proposed, they can do that, and they will do that. You will see it. If you have a country that is actively practicing the having a concentration camp with all the Uyghur Muslims, hard labor, taking their religion away from them, doing all this, people are dying. Nobody's talking about it. They have squashed the media, even American media. They have a stranglehold on the American government. That's why you don't see America stepping up. America, in my eyes, this is where I talk about America becoming a third world nation. America used to see that type of atrocity take place and used to stand to the call. They used to stand up against that type of thing. But the government that we have in power today, our military leaders, our corrupt politicians, China is paying these people to basically just remain silent. Media as well. There's just too much money. It's crazy, right? But anyway, and so that's what centralized digital currency can do. It's for any of my Christian listeners, that's what ushers in the mark of the beast, right? And that's in our Christian belief. We believe that there's going to be a day where a world government will come in, and we will not be allowed to buy or sell without this mark of the beast. And it could very well. That's why I think a lot of Christians are leery of cryptocurrency in the first place. Is they think that this is us just basically leading ourselves off the cliff. I don't think so. You have coins such as Monero. There's a new one, or I should say not newer, just not known, just not popular, but called Pirate Chain. And they have just amazing technologies that can obfuscate your transaction. So if the government with their digital dollar tells me, "Oh, Brett, you said the wrong thing on your podcast. We don't agree with it. We're going to shut you down." I can just shrug my shoulders and say, "Oh, okay, you got me," pretend like I'm sad, and then go into a decentralized market, convert my Bitcoin to Monero or to privacy pirate chain, and then I can find vendors that will accept that currency, and I can still eat, I can still live a normal life without these sanctions, these state sanctions that our governments want to basically use against us to get us to comply. Okay? So that those are some of the things there, but with us going to these decentralized cryptocurrencies, sanctions don't work anymore. You can't. How are you going to sanction if you're America and you've got Iran that want, they're doing this nuclear program, and then right now we have sanctions on them. We have sanctions on China. How can you use sanctions if you don't control the currency anymore? And that's what scares the shit out of all these countries. It scares them. But what does that do, though? When you take that away, it forces dialogue, doesn't it? It forces you to. It basically takes that ability for America to come in and do this nation building, where we completely destroy all these countries and we steal their oil and we steal all these. It takes that ability away from the U.S. government to be able to basically just go into countries and make them in their own likeness, just for their interest. I mean, everything that America does is for its interest. And I think one of the craziest things that I saw that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime is they ended this 20-year war with Al Qaeda in the Middle East, basically. And we kept changing the enemies, right? For one time it was Saddam, then it was Gaddafi, then it was the guy in Syria that Russia was backing. I forget his name. But we had all these enemies, and we just kept making up all these new enemies as we went. And it was crazy because we were telling, the media was telling Americans this whole time, this is for freedom, this is for liberty, this is for all this. And then we ended the war after 20 years, and a lot of us were saying that's why Obama got elected, was he promised to end that war. He didn't. He kept going on. He threw his drones with bombs that was dropped on a hospital, killed women and children. He continued those wars. He continued nation building. And Trump, he finally went in and made an agreement, said we are going to get out, we're going to do it. Oh, and then Biden came in and he ended it. But the way that he ended it was something that I never thought I'd ever see as an American, where he left. Not only did he leave all those Americans behind to assure fate of murder, the Taliban, they are going door to door and killing people. And so not only did he do that, but then he and his administration lied to the American public and said, "Oh, well, we gave all those people all these warnings before. If they wanted to leave, they should have left. They should have answered those warnings." So his administration is lying to us. So imagine what this situation would look like if they didn't have the U.S. dollar to support all of this nation building, to support all this military building, to where it forces America to be just one person of equal value at the table with the rest of the world to figure out and solve their differences. Because what they're doing to them, they're doing to us too. That's why you have so many people who they want this UBI to take place, UBI, Universal Basic Income. They want to basically live off the government teat, which is crazy because don't you see the trap in that? Don't you see the trap where once someone, like if you have an employer, this is the difference. If you have an employer, you can go into and you agree with your employer. You say, "Hey, this is what I agree. I agree that I will work for this wage, and this is what I have to offer." And your employer will say, "Okay, this is the wage we are willing to pay you, and this, and because you have the qualifications we're looking for, these are the expectations. If we're going to pay you this wage, these are the expectations we would like to see from you." And then that's where it comes back to you. Yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree. Okay, so you have that decision. The American government, when you decide that you are going to be a lifelong welfare recipient or lifelong UBI recipient, they decide what doctors you get to go to, what type of health insurance you're going to be able to have, possibly where you live, or at least how much money they'll give you to live on. And you'll have to figure out, okay, well, they're giving me, $800 a month. And the reason why I call that a trap is because when I was a kid, I was on welfare. My family, my mom was on welfare. I was also in a foster home, and I saw abuse. I was literally one of those bottom rung people in society with my mom, and so I saw the welfare and the WIC system. We were on welfare at a time, though. Welfare's completely changed. It's a completely different game these days. Welfare back then was where you had to go in to public. We went to Albertsons. We shopped at Albertsons, and we were restricted to what foods we could buy. Right? We couldn't just buy anything, and so with the list, you had to stretch those food stamps as far as you could get if you wanted food. So we had to buy food, the basic foods. We had to do that. We only had so much to have, and we only had so much rent money to live in. So we lived in a 2-bedroom, 754 square foot house built in the year 1900 that to this day is no longer standing. We were poor. And then when I got out of foster care, the state of Idaho said, "Hey, this child is entitled." See, entitlement isn't always a bad thing, right? This child is entitled to child support. But my mom, in her own pride, or her lack of protecting me the way that I needed to be protected, she said, "No, we will not collect welfare we will collect welfare, but we won't collect child support," because I think she said that she was afraid that that my biological father would think that because he was paying, then he would have some sort of expectations in return, like maybe would want to talk to me, would want to have a relationship with me, which I never did. I never wanted to talk to him. So it would have been fine. We just wouldn't have been as poor. I would have had clothes. I would have had all this. The point of that whole story, though, is that I was dirt poor. Welfare today, when I'm at the grocery store and I look at these carts, for one, they give you the dignity now. You can use an EBT card, looks just like my debit card, right? So it looks like we're the same. Groceries are just piled. They can get anything they want, maybe minus alcohol and cigarettes. You can get, but the budget is up there because these people are getting more than I'm getting, and then they're getting in their Cadillac Escalades. Now I don't know where they're going. I don't follow them home, so I don't know if maybe they're just going to. We used to call it Section 8 housing, but now I think we just call it affordable housing, and so I don't know. But some of these affordable housing, they are nice places. So how is it that someone who chooses not to work is living a better life than I am. That's crazy. That is a system that is unsustainable and will not last under those conditions. And I'm not saying that to disparage anybody in those bottom rung. I'm saying I saw that trap. That for people that don't see that, that are living that way and don't see the trap, the I'm urging you to get out of that trap. I'm urging you, with that extra money that you have, take some of that money, invest it in the very least Bitcoin, the very least. That way, the more of us that have real freedom to choose to live the way that we want to live without depending and being a hindrance to our fellow citizens by raising their taxes. Imagine what all of us could do if we all had real freedom. So that's the thing. There is the government. If you choose to live under their system, and there's some people that have to. There's some people, as they get older, maybe their stocks collapsed, maybe their Ponzi Social Security isn't there anymore, and they didn't have a backup plan. There's always going to be people that need the government to provide some sort of assistance. Okay, so the people, what I'm saying is the people that are willing, or that are able-bodied and able-minded people that just don't want to, at least invest yourself out of becoming a burden for the rest of us, and allow those people that really truly do need those services to have them. Free up some of the housing, free up some of the costs for that. Get some of these, allow for more funding for our roads and whatnot. But right now, our government, they're becoming so socialist that they are basically squeezing the middle class out, to where this could be one of our cryptocurrency investing could be one of the very last opportunities that we have in this country for freedom. But I think that if you do that, I think just like I'm talking about moving my family out of country, I think you guys will as well. I don't think that America, I mean, for maybe for other reasons, other people would like, well, I wouldn't, if I had all the money in the world, would I choose to live in this country, or would I want to live somewhere where it's maybe more temperate, right? Maybe maybe they don't. I don't know. But if you give people that choice, and this is where I think investing in cryptocurrency, by the way, I'm not a financial advisor if I haven't said that. So anything I say is just my opinion. So let's not get carried away with that too. I'm just, giving you sort of what I'm seeing. Okay, so that's that. Now let's talk about Coinbase a little bit. I know I got caught up in a little bit of a tangent, but I just want to make sure I'm covering all of our topics. So Coinbase came into the game, and they provided a service that directly connects you as the investor to a select amount of cryptos, right? And I don't know what Coinbase's rules or what their process is to getting certain cryptos on their exchange and then saying no to others. I don't know what that is, but I can tell you that they've made a lot of money doing this. And since they've started, they have now become, I think it was just this year, they went public. They had so you can, on the stock exchange, you can buy shares of Coinbase. So in the world of cryptocurrency is by design created to be decentralized. Coinbase does the very opposite of that. Coinbase tracks everything you do, and then the thing that makes it worse compared to Binance, right? So in America, we can't have a Binance account, but I think that's a huge detriment to investors, because Binance is one of the most amazing programs that I've ever seen in crypto. And I've just I haven't seen anything else that compares to Binance, because this is what Binance does. So they offer way more of a selection of cryptos than Coinbase, for one. Two, their fees are much more reasonable, right? Coinbase wants to get you, I mean, they're going to get at least 99 cents on every transaction you do. Okay. Whereas with Binance, you're using the BNB token, and you're just going from one to the other, and it could be maybe 58 cents. Just depends on what the fees are at the time of that exchange. But all in all, your fees are going to be less on Binance than they will on Coinbase. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of these cryptos come into Binance and they say, "Hey, we want to start this new crypto." And so they will give Binance all these tokens. They'll say, "Here you go. Share them with your investors, So if you go to stake your Binance coin, then you can be rewarded with some of these tokens that were given to Binance for free." And so what Binance decided to do was, instead of hoarding them, they decided to disperse them, give them out, and reward you for your investments. That's amazing. That's amazing. People were making a lot of money doing that. Coinbase has a program called Earn to Learn, where these people will, and I don't know if it's the same deal, where they give Coinbase all this free money, free tokens, just like they do with Binance. I'm sure they do, though, where they give them that, and then they will say, "Okay, well, we'll give you $3 worth of this coin," right? Whether it's Cello or Graph or whatever, some of the stupid ones that I've done, and they'll give you $3 worth of that. That's peanuts compared to what Binance would have given you if you would stake BNB. It's amazing. There's so much more. And so Coinbase, they've made it very clear that they are not all their bare minimum. What they're going to do, they're going to give you the bare minimum. They're going to say, "We are offering an exchange for you to buy your cryptos on, and then with all of this extra profit that we're going to get, we're going to share with our shareholders," because they went public. So that's how they're doing it. But then that's not it. That's not it. Coinbase has lobbyists working on their behalf, not your behalf, not cryptocurrency's behalf. They say that they are. They say that, "Oh, this is for cryptocurrency." I'm telling you, it would be a whole lot better. Because here's the thing: if Congress were to decide to legislate, create all this legislation, create all these burdensome regulations, they would push crypto out of the United States at the very worst time. Crypto is I guarantee you it should, if it hasn't already, it should get a Nobel Peace Prize for what it's doing, for the things that cryptocurrency is doing for the world. It's just the world hasn't realized it yet. Us early people see it. Now, a lot of us are just investors, and we just see a lot of the dollar signs. But for those of us that are looking beyond that, because is this thing sustainable? Can I quit my job to live off of crypto interest for the rest of my life? So we need to know these things. We need to know what legislation is going to look like, what regulations are going to do to our economy, and does that put me in a position where I have so much money invested in crypto where I cannot live in this country anymore, because they want to basically either label me a criminal or take the lion's share of my risk and my investments. So Coinbase, with their legislation, or with their lobbyists, what they've done is protected them, kept their shareholders rich, while pushing companies like Binance out. Now, they have Binance US, and I don't have a Binance US account because I live in a state that, well, maybe it is allowed in the state. I don't know. I just haven't done it yet. When I do need BNB, I find other means to do it, but I work solely with BNB and the Binance Smart Chain. So That's where I do most of it. I don't really mess around with Ethereum as much as maybe other people do. Ethereum, that's a problem with that one is the gas prices. I would invest more in Ethereum if their gas prices were more reasonable. But if I'm going to make like a $5, here's a comparison between the Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum chain blockchain. If I want to move $5 worth of Ethereum out of my MetaMask and onto the exchange or wherever, anywhere, into any address, it can cost me $50. $50 in Ethereum just to move $5. Not going to happen. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that, right? But take that same $5 in BNB and you want to move that to an exchange, maybe 38 cents, maybe 77 cents. I've seen it as high as 77 cents before. That's not much. I can work with that. I can work with that, especially since I know that I'm staking. And when I'm staking means I'm holding my money in my wallet, and it's a validation process. It's basically replaces mining, and I'm getting rewarded for staking as well. So I'm getting paid more money just to stake. So the money that I'm paying in my fees, I'm more than getting back in staking. Coinbase, they are trying to put a stranglehold on crypto. They're trying to eliminate these ways of accumulation of wealth for regular people. Decentralization of cryptocurrency. I don't know if that's an oxymoron or not, but but I have to put it that way. The decentralization and cryptocurrency as it's designed, it was designed to push the banks out, to cut the middleman out. But legislators, they don't want that to happen. Those guys are getting paid so much money by the banks and by the lobbyists that the banks hire that the system in America wants those banks in there as the middleman. And they'll say it's for KYC purposes, for know your customer, for anti-money laundering purposes. That's what they do. That's what they say. But most of us in the crypto world are not money launderers. We are not criminals. But we do see an opportunity to compete with the banks. And when we're looking at, when I can go on to a decentralized exchange and I can make 88% interest, and my bank is telling me that they're going to give me 0.5% interest. I mean, I'm bad at math. If you ever try to get me to do math on the fly, I can't do it. I look stupid. I am stupid, but I'm smart enough to know that 88% interest is a hell of a lot more than 0.5%. That is my case for crypto, and I just want to open your eyes, and I hope I didn't say anything that was offensive to anyone. I'm not trying to be offensive. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open our eyes to this opportunity that is in front of us, and before the government tries to close the doors, before Coinbase tries to close the doors, before Americans, too many Americans get used to the very sheltered, very hidden ways of the new, what they're trying to turn cryptocurrency into. Before all that takes place, I want you guys to see that there is a green pasture out there. And I'll end this with this. I have two mentors in crypto. One guy was the guy that I talked to in the fall. I was talking about him earlier, and he's the one that convinced me to take the plunge on ADA. I bought a whole bunch of ADA, and I said, "Yeah, that's what I like, right?" And I fell in love with ADA. I fell in love with what Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, was doing with their native token ADA. I said, "Man, I love it." He's basically doing everything that Ethereum said that they wanted to do, but he's actually working towards that. Now, here in another week of recording, you're going to see ADA finally become a real cryptocurrency. See, right now it's smart without smart contracts. It's just an early investment. That's all it is. Once we hit smart contracts, and that's on September 12th. Once smart contracts hit, you are going to see a whole new world for Cardano and for ADA. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm so glad that I got in ADA when I did. Even right now, as of recording, let's just go to our CoinGecko. Oops. I'll get it prepared on the screen so you don't have to see me stumble through that. ADA. Okay, let's share the screen. All right, as you can see, ADA right now is at 284. Okay, that's yeah, and we've had a high of what was it, 310? Let's see where it says over here. Okay, so 309, but yeah, all-time high was 309. That was on September 2nd. That was yeah, five days ago we hit an all-time high of 309. I thought it was 310. I think Coinbase shows as 310. 284. We're doing pretty good. ADA is doing really good. Once smart contracts come out, though, I don't think we're going to see these prices for much longer. I don't think so. And you can finally buy it on Coinbase if you want. But anyway, what I wanted to end this with was I have two mentors. So one guy was the guy that I talked to person, knew him, worked with him, talked with him almost daily, and he he talks about ADA, talks about some of the centralized exchanges that ADA is going to be a native token on. Beautiful stuff. I mean, the world is looking so good for ADA. I'm so bullish with Cardano that it's not even funny. I love it. It's just done wonders for me. But then I found a new teacher where this guy was, I was working with someone who knew that I was in cryptocurrency, and he says, "Hey, I hear you talking about ADA all the time, and I hear you talking about crypto, but what if I could introduce you to a whole new world of making money through cryptocurrency? Like money that you can literally that was my whole plan with ADA, was just to live off of it, right? Cash out, pay off the house, yada yada yada. But with this new mentor, this new class, it cost me $400. Now I don't know how long these prices stay this way, but I can't tell you. It's so funny when it comes to learning how to do it. Everybody just wants to be told how to do it. Everybody just wants to, catch me on the Instagram. Hey, what should I do there? What should I do there? They want me to, and most of it is just in person. They'll call me up and they'll say, "Hey, I've got $10,000. What do I do with it?" They want me to tell them what to do. I can't tell people what to do. I can just share with what I did. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial guru. I'm not a crypto guru. I'm like, everything that I'm talking about here is just my own life experiences with crypto. But And that's the funny thing about education is people sometimes, most of the time, are not willing to pay to educate themselves. They don't see they almost see education as a waste of money. And how could you not with our college system in this country where it's literally where these people, these students are taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and then they come out and they might have a job making minimum wage or just a little bit above. How I would be, skeptical if someone promises to teach me this, but this class, this course that I went through, this is someone who I hope to bring that mentor onto this podcast so you can talk to him. So you can hear him. You can't talk to him. So you can hear him and I can share some of the experiences I've had with his program. Now I'm brand new with his program. I'm just now implementing it. But what just in that $400 that I spent on his course, I've already learned. I'm leaps and bounds from where I was before. And so when I tell people this, I say, hey, this is a class, $400, go out and get it. You won't be sorry. Even the guy that showed me the class, there was one guy that said, hey, I want you to, it was a funny thing. It was a situation where he was invested in Dogecoin. And I said, nah, man, you do not want to be invested in Dogecoin. I would cash out of that one and I would literally get into ADA, put it all in ADA, even though ADA is more expensive. With the way that ADA is going to rise by percentage, it's going to rise in percentage more than Dogecoin ever will. Dogecoin is dead. There's a lot of people that will disagree with me on that because, Elon Musk is working with Dogecoin. Even the Vitalik Buterin or whatever his name is with Ethereum, he's working with Dogecoin. So they're working on it. That's fine. But it still has an unlimited supply. Ripple, XRP, that's another one that I won't invest in. I will not touch it because the developers, they've kept over half for their own people. So there's such a huge supply. It does not make sense for it to be at the price it is. And it can easily be diluted once they open the dams and release even more. Or once their developers get paid in XRP and then they start cashing it out. So that guy, the Doge guy, I told him, that's bad investment. He happened to know some people that had taken this course that I ended up taking. But he said, well, what about this course? Would you learn, would you be willing to learn? So I did it. I talked to some other people who were in this course. And just with the way that these guys were talking, I said, yeah, I got to jump on this. I got to learn this stuff, and I did. And I'm telling you, I've told so many people in person about this course that I'm taking, and I recommended that course for so many people. I can't talk about the things. That's an agreement that I made, or that you have to sign in the beginning, is that you can't go out and share this stuff, this knowledge, this teaching with people, because he wants to be able to teach you himself. And I agree with that. I think that what he says, the way he says it, he should, he's put the time in. He's been in the money game for a long time. He knows what he's talking about. He should get the money and the credit for the stuff that I've learned from him. And I do hope that I can introduce the world to him on the Tip Touch podcast. And as I take, he has another course available that I'm getting ready to inquire about. But even for the $400 course, it's amazing how many people I've told. I don't think I've got one person to buy it. I've gotten, and not even buy it. Let's rephrase that. I have not got one person who's interested, who is an active crypto investor, to invest in themselves, to invest in the training that could literally change their lives. It takes work, it takes effort. and it's money. They're so willing to buy, Dogecoin and Shiba Inu and SafeMoon, stuff that is guaranteed. I mean, when I got into Shiba Inu, at first I lost 90% of what I purchased. And then I kept buying more in those dips, to where eventually the best I could get to recover, the most I could recover, is 46%. I think I cashed out at a 46% loss before I moved it onto something else that is making money now, which was, no, I won't talk about it. But I made the right moves. I did the right things. And so my second mentor is that. So I'm not even going to say the name of it, because if you guys are really interested, I want you to approach me and say, yes, I'm interested to know more. And I will give the website, the class. And I hope to, I will talk to this instructor and tell him more about this. And hopefully you people, and I get nothing. There's no incentives. There's no rewards I get for passing people on to his way. It would be cool though if you guys said, hey, I heard this on the Tip Touch podcast, and what Brett said made a lot of sense, and then I can get in his good graces a little bit. He can know that I am someone who took his class serious, because I think that I want him to know that his class made a tremendous impact on my life. He did an amazing. His course is amazing, and I know that I just took the beginner course, right? And I'm leaps and bounds ahead of where I was, but there's so much more. Imagine, that's the goal. The goal is to be able to live completely independent of any employer, be my own bank, be my own boss. And I just happen to love crypto. I love it. I just love the whole nature of it. I love the problems in life, the efficiencies that it solves, the problems that it solves to fix with the efficiencies built into these cryptos. It's the Internet 3.0. It's the easiest way to say it. It's so new to so many people. People don't even know what this is. I get the reluctance. I get it. I was there. I was reluctant. That's why it took me so long to finally open up a Coinbase account, a Bittrex account. Bittrex is a shit of an exchange. It's one of the worst ones, but it was the only one that offered ADA when I was buying it. And then crypto.com, that's a complete joke of an exchange. The only one I really like is Binance, and we just have too many lobbyists that have been paid to tell our legislators to be anti-Binance. And I'm telling you, if it continues and I continue to make my money and I know that Binance is going to get me there, I will not stay in this country. There's just too much money to be made. And it's funny that you can make that much money just depending on the exchange. But Binance runs a very good game. They run a very good game. Okay, so that is all I have for this episode of the Tip Touch. Again, if you're interested to know more, you can hit me up on the DM. You can hit me up on my personal Instagram page, or you can hit us up on the podcast page. But on the podcast page, that's mostly Eddie running the ship on that side. But he will, he can always forward that stuff to me. But if you're interested to know more, you're willing to invest in yourself. Again, I get paid nothing. But when you do buy this thing, do recommend, do tell the guy, the instructor, hey, Brett sent me here, Brett Otto from the Tip Touch podcast. And then that way we can have a good podcast. If I can talk him into getting on the show, that would be great. And I think it would be good for any of you who do decide to invest in yourself to see that as well. So with that said, check us out on YouTube, all the platform, all the podcast platforms that are out there. If you happen to see one that we are not on, that we haven't hit, send us a DM, let us know. And I do that end of it. I get us on the platform. So let me know. I will try to get us on as many that are out there, whatever ones that you prefer that are your favorite. We definitely want to be in your ears. And the way that you get us out there and out there more, known more, is by liking, subscribing, engaging, whether it's with comments, with the rating systems. Any and all of that help, and it's free. You don't have to do it. It's just a moment of your time just to show your appreciation and to help us into more ears, into getting out there more. So I know a lot of the stuff I say sometimes on the podcast can be seen as controversial. Really, I'm just trying to tell you the truth from what I see it. And we live in a country, and we live in a time where we are being censored unlike any other time I've ever seen in history. And it's crazy to watch this country go that way. But we can still fight this. We can still do this. So if you like it, those are all the things we have. That is all the time I have for you. We will catch you next time with my man Eddie right by my side. All right? All right, take care.